Welcome to Unemployed and Afraid, a podcast that explores the glorious mess of building your own business with the people doing it. I'm your host and fellow business builder, Kim Curtin. Thank you for being here. Let's get into some good, honest, small business chat. I have tried to record this episode for you so many times over the last 4 or 5 months. In fact, so many times in the last half an hour. I think this might be take 8 or 9 at this stage, but I am fully committed to sharing and publishing this episode for you, and I'm going to push through the awkwardness and the uncomfortableness and whatever it is that is getting in my way of sharing this with you. And because you're here, you're on this feed, this podcast feed, Unemployed and Afraid, I am sure you can relate to the feels that I'm starting this episode with, and that I'll probably share with you as we go on, that you just sometimes get in your own way, no matter how much you want to share something, publish something, build, create something, just simply say something. There can be so much of ourselves that get in the way. And that has definitely been my experience. I've been going through quite the creative crisis and quite the change over the last 5 months that I have been integrating over this period, which I think is an important part of the creation process. That in our world where we can so easily publish something and have something live, the very next minute, we don't often give ourselves enough time to do. But I have felt forced into the integration. So, to give a little bit of an explanation, I have in the last 6 months or so changed my entire business building structure. I have gone from working full time as a business builder, developing this very show, this public example of a business, and this show about the experience of building businesses, my consultancy, and all of the other things that I have done along the way. I have moved away from doing that full time, and I have taken a full time role as an employee back in a place where I am very excited to be, full time into podcasting. So into the podcast industry, joining a network in a role that is incredibly exciting to me, naturally, being a huge old pod nerd, but has also brought me moving states from the Sunshine Coast back to Sydney, which feels very much like home. And I'm so happy to be here. It has been, though, the wildest of change, and I massively underestimated the impact that it would have on me as a creator, on me as an individual, on me as a friend and a family member and a partner, and all of the things and all of the ways that I treat myself as well through that. It has been a huge change. And something that's been burning in the back of my mind through this whole change is what it means for me as an entrepreneur to be working back in a full-time role, as well as being an entrepreneur at heart and in motion in the sides and cracks of my day and on the weekend as well. So I think you can probably see why it's taken me a little minute to integrate and think about how to share and what to take away from this experience. So to go back, probably 18 months, 2 years almost ago now, I have talked about it on this show, but it might be an experience that you've had from time to time as well. I realized the business building structure that I had created for myself, the space that feels so exciting and so full of potential, also had me languishing in parts. Now, I realized that working solo as a solopreneur, even though I have a wonderful community of friends and acquaintances and co-business builders in my community, and I talk to so many people on this podcast about the experience, I felt really lonely, really isolated in the experience. And I was constantly thinking about ways to improve that. Is it about where I live and I just need to be around more entrepreneurial people? Or is it about that I just need to make more effort in my diary to have catch-ups and calls with the friends who I can, rely on and speak openly with about the business that I was building and continue to build? Is that going to make me feel better about this? And I just kept turning it over and over in my mind. And I realized what I was missing in my life, in my professional life, is the ability to sit side by side with people under a shared mission and a shared goal to build something that they're passionate and proud of. And for me, the thing that I'm passionate about is the podcast industry and being part of that and being a positively impactful part of that and building things that we're really proud and excited of. And I just couldn't get that feeling doing it by myself, doing it in a consultative capacity. And that was the thing that took me to the global conference that I went to last year in 2024, the London podcast show, because I just so badly wanted to be around other people who felt just as passionate as I did about this industry every single day. And that experience, really showed me quite how much I was languishing doing this by myself and building something by myself. And, so I explored different ideas. I had business ideas that were bigger than what I'm doing in consultancy by myself. And I thought about seeking investment for. I thought about partnering and, even reached out to a few people to sort of test the waters and be like, do you want to build something together? Is there something here? And, nothing quite stuck in those conversations, but it got me more excited thinking about the potential of going further with other people. And that brought me to the decision that, what, I think I am really happy to look at the option of working as an employee. For me, it's never been a this or a that. I found myself into full-time entrepreneurship almost by accident or almost by force. And I have been a business builder before, I have been a passionate employee before, and I am all of those things all at the same time. And it took me a while to grapple with the decision of what does it mean? What does it look like to be even considering looking for a role in an industry that I love? What does that optically mean for the bigger piece of my future? I've never really been someone who's got one end goal in mind, but I know I'm passionate about the industry that I'm in and the potential that it is. And I just really got comfortable with the fact that all of those things added up together, and also to the standard issue stuff that we deal with when we're business building on our own, the sense of uncertainty, the financial pressures where it's feast or famine, and what that looks like for the long term, and all of those things. And fundamentally, how can I go further? How can I grow? How can I keep pushing when sometimes even pushing alone, you think it's ultimate freedom, but there's a limit. There's a limit because there's so much that you have to focus on at once. And doing that as a solopreneur is incredibly challenging to go as fast and as far as you want to. And so I started exploring the options in the space, and looking and thinking and really trying to like bring into my life the opportunity. And I knew it would come in at the right time. And when it did, I was thrilled at the opportunity, and still am so empowered by the opportunity to work in a network environment, in a podcast network, and be able to partner with incredible people, work on incredible brands, work side by side on incredible shows, and just be more of a part of the industry that I feel so deeply passionate about. And so that started in February of 2025. I'm recording this early August. Oh gosh, I really have taken a very long time to get this episode together. But I started that in February, and it has been a full force, full frontal reveal of chaos internally and externally in my life, moving cities, going, 2 feet in and trying to make a positive impact as quickly as I can, and dealing with the change of everything it was, in my life. And it has come with so many exciting moments, so many growth moments, but so many moments of pause and consideration and utmost respect for the crazy journey that is believing in yourself and wanting to be the best professional at whatever it is that you do, and constantly push yourself through the work that you do, even if the work that you do is something as random as like what I did 5 years ago, which was leave my corporate role in media to figure my life out, and then end up as a yoga teacher in Tasmania, and then a ceramicist for a hot minute, running a successful ceramicist business. I mean, I certainly didn't plan any of that, but the power of how you find yourself through your professional pursuits has just been fully realized for me in this last 5 month period, where you push and you push and you build as much as you can. And then the bamboo of growth that can come is both exciting and exhilarating, overwhelming, and all of the above. So that is the feeling that I've been sitting in the last 5 months. And I've also had this thing in the back of my mind regarding this show that I've been creating for 3.5 years. This show, Unemployed and Afraid, which was developed because I wanted to have different types of conversation about the experience of building a small business, the experience of building a business of any size, the experience of going after what it is that you want to do and doing it proudly, and not waiting for someone to pick you, not waiting for somebody to pluck you into a something, but to grow something around who you are and what you do, and to grow your business and the business of you. I have been exploring that on this show for 3.5 years. And it's been so fundamental to, both the bigger purpose of podcasting that I feel so passionately about and the positive impact it can have on the people who consume it and just the power of the ecosystem and blah, blah, blah. Anytime you want to talk about podcasts, I'm happy to nerd out on that area, but just this show and what it means. And I have felt in a bit of a creative crisis about this show over the last little bit because I've been telling the story of personal growth through entrepreneurship, through the business or through the story and then the lens of businesses themselves for quite some time. And I started to feel a bit of a squeeze on creative freedom around that. I started this show to build it as a business. I seem to have a little bit of a hard time starting any kind of a hobby or any kind of a project without thinking of the commercial potential of the damn thing. And then that has what this show has been. It's been a public demonstration of building a business. I've done it from day one. I have, tested and learned in the first iterations, and then I have grown the brand visually. I have thought about the brand like a marketer. I have looked for opportunities for growth, for partnership. I have pitched the hell out of it to clients and to invest in the show and tried to find a brand who believes in it as much as I did and do. And never found the success with it that I wanted. Not in 3.5 years. And you can say that, look, I haven't tried long enough or hard enough yet. And that might be true. That might be true. I have been doing this all, by myself as a solo host. I have had to teach myself to be a producer, to be an editor, to market, to grow the show, to pitch it for award recognition, to do all of these things. And with what that brought me to, which was this deep love and passion for the potential of the podcasting industry and all of the little prongs that come off of it in terms of, being a creator founder of, wanting to build a business around an idea and a community around an idea. I've just been really challenged by where I'm at with the show. And I think so often we feel that way in our businesses where we're like, is this the right thing for me? Is it time to stop or is it time to push? Is it time to evolve? Is it time to pivot? And that decision-making process is so incredibly brutal because you just always wonder, what happens if I just keep going? What happens if it's just, the next thing, the next thing? And it's a real challenge. But I wanted to touch on something else. I'm covering a lot of ground here. Like I said, I've got, nothing but a few bullet points lodged in my brain to share with you here, and quite the update, and quite the hopeful wisdom to impart, because maybe some of this is a decision making process that you have been making. But as I found myself back in a full time role and relishing in the experience of that, and being amongst a group of people who are pretty passionate about growing something as well, there's been also those moments of awkwardness, I don't know, as part of that. So I will share a funny story with you about that experience of being in a workplace again after being so publicly passionate about building businesses, of which I still very much am. I am the side hustler of all side hustlers at the moment, but we'll get to that. But the business that I joined, where I am working now as head of podcast partnerships, is a business I have worked in before. It is a incredible place, and somewhere I've spent a lot of years and grown a lot of ways, and I've come into or returned into a brand new role that didn't exist, with a brand new skill set that I didn't have at the time, with a whole lot of new thinking that I never would have been able to achieve if I haven't taken on the last 5 years of my life with full gusto and full paranoia and full awkwardness through the whole thing. But because of that, coming back into a business in which people knew me as the person I was 5.5 years ago and have seen the journey that I've taken, someone said to me, "Are you disappointed in yourself?" And that gave me a real moment. It still gives me a moment for pause. I'm like, geez, it's a ballsy question to ask someone face to face. So that definitely seems like something you'd maybe type in a Instagram comment, like some faceless person on the internet might type to me. But okay, we're going there. We're going to ask face to face. Am I disappointed in myself for going back into full time employment? And perhaps that question specifically was, are you disappointed in finding yourself back in the place that you left 5.5 years ago? And it wasn't a yes or a no answer for me. It was the question was so moot because what I realized is, people think it's this or that. It's better or worse, one way or the other. The whole grass is greener thing. And what you do in one moment is, being everything for that moment. And then like, I just felt so confused by the question because I think so fundamentally different now because of the experience that I've had, that the answer to the question was, of course not. I have put myself in positions of growth consistently for the better part of probably 15 years, but particularly the better part of 6 years, where I have taken risks, I have taken jumps, I have tried things, I have failed repeatedly, I have experimented repeatedly, and I have grown to know the person who I am inside and out. And I know when something feels wrong. And I know when I have to sit in discomfort and push a little bit harder. And I know all these things about how I work and who I am and the potential. And so the answer to that is, of course not. No matter where I am, I'm there. The person I will be in 3 years' time is not that person. And the only way I can meet her is by trying and being uncomfortable and seeing where things go. This kind of all or nothing mentality of like, you are, it's amazing to be a business owner and do your own thing. That's where the grass is greener. You can build, you can do whatever you want. Yes, and it's hell a lot of the time. Yes, and you rarely get a mental break because you try to take a physical break and a mental break for your mental health to be able to continue building the thing that you're building. But the thing you're building never leaves you when you're solely responsible for it. It's very difficult to get that separation. Most businesses don't have help. Most businesses don't have people working in them. It's usually one person, maybe a small handful of support or assistants or EAs or VAs or the vast majority of businesses that are developing in Australia, that are developing from people and in and of themselves, start with just one person. And like, that's really hard, as well as being amazing and giving ultimate opportunity. Being in a business and working in a full-time role, you could look at it from the negatives and, I'm sort of restricted to this one thing, or this person over here is making my experience less enjoyable because of their own stuff that they're working through within this space, or this thing over here that's being done this way really annoys me, or this restriction that I have annoys me. I have to ask for a day off rather than just take a day off. That's annoying, quote unquote. All of those things are true, yes, and what's also true is within a space where you're working with other people, you still have the opportunity to be a builder. You still have the opportunity to speak up in rooms that maybe you won't be invited to speak up in, but you can learn to speak up for yourself and push and let people see little bits of yourself and grow, place ideas on there, do side projects, work with others, be creative, be the person that you want to be in a role, even if it's got all the other things going on at the same time. Like it's not an either or when it comes to being a professional and building a business. It is not a better or worse. Being an entrepreneur is better than working in a business. Being a business is better than being an entrepreneur. Like, no, they're both amazing and they both hold great potential and they're both really challenging for different reasons. So I've been thinking about that a lot because, that question, "Are you disappointed?" Jeez, it rattled me. But I was like, is that what other people think? Is that what other people are not saying out loud? That, "Oh, wow, how, like, sad she's now back working for a company she worked for before in a role when she was living the dream, quote, unquote, building her own business." I was like, "No. Why do we why do we think like that?" But also then, why did I automatically start thinking, "My God, are people talking and thinking that way about me," when nobody understands what the individual needs or wants in their career, and everybody underestimates the power of just doing the thing that's in front of you and not worrying about what other people think. That's a convoluted way of me, I guess, showing the imbalance of the experience, that it can be both. You can go after your dreams and then you can absolutely fear what people think about you. And then, you can feel overwhelmed within it and you can question every choice that you make. But I think when you take a pause and you think about a bigger purpose for your life, and the bigger purpose for your life might be financial freedom or more financial freedom. The bigger purpose for your life might be being creatively inspired day in, day out. The bigger purpose of your life might be an industry or part of an industry that you're really passionate about, or a part of human growth, or something that you want to contribute to that you're really passionate about. For me, it's all of those things. Or naturally, it's all of those things all at once. But where I am now is I'm so happy in my ability to contribute to the role that I'm in and the industry that I'm in, and also to have the opportunity to build things. Because outside of being in an office environment with a bunch of bloody legends and having mostly a great time at work, like because nothing is ever amazing, there's always things to battle with, and there's always resilience needed in strange areas that you wouldn't have predicted, and personal growth that you have to go through. On the weekends, I am thinking, I am strategizing, I am planning, I am building what is my own business as well. The same as it always has been. I continue to do consulting within the frame that I can within the structure of my weeks now. I love helping people with their podcasts and helping businesses and brands with their podcasts. I love imparting any knowledge that I have. I love being pushed to learn more knowledge. I love getting people thinking differently based on just thinking strategies, cultural awareness, strategic principles, and applying that to the world of podcasting. And I still feel really passionately about being a host and building a show. And that is taking me back to that creative crisis I've had around this show, which is, what do I do next here? Now, I have been building this show for a really, really long time and I'm passionate about it, but it hasn't seen the growth that I want it to see. I can't market it much more. I mean, I could. I could definitely market it more than I do. It is really hard to pump out endless clips and endless quotes and publish them endlessly on social media. I have a real love hate with social media because it just is such a cesspool so often of like stress, and I'm not showing up often enough, and as it's so confronting with the way of the world right now. It is so confronting to be in that space. It feels really strange to build there too. But I definitely could do more to grow this show, I'm sure. I've definitely found my voice in other areas, like LinkedIn is a place I really love to share professional thoughts and insights and ideas. And, can you grow a podcast through LinkedIn alone? I'm not sure. But I have tried really, really hard to grow this show. I have had a phenomenal amount of commercial disappointments over the years. Really awesome conversations with big brands who, if I could have gotten them to sponsor this show, to partner with me on this show, I feel really confident I could have gone much further with the growth and potential of this show. But I could never get it over the line because of preconceived notions of build where the audience is, media investment, not quite having the investor head of, there's something interesting here. Here's a creator I believe in. Let me help them grow. Everyone's looking for an audience to leverage, an existing audience to leverage. No one's really willing to partner to help grow that audience off of what is already a really strong base. So, I've been let down commercially a ton of times, full blown ghosted. I've talked about that on this pod. A lot of times I've been full blown ghosted. Like, here's a contract for 5 figures. What do you reckon? Like, yeah, we're going to do this, right? And then just never hear from them again, and never, get any, just nothing, just no replies, just never hear from them again. To be getting so close to, recently a partnership that would have been, a big difference to the potential and the future of this show in particular, and being disappointed at the last hurdle. Probably got about 17 examples like that, so I won't take you through all of them. It's bloody boring. But, that also makes me think, hang on, have I done this experimentation for long enough now? Is there something here that's telling me that this experiment isn't the right one to continue? Have I failed at this in a positive way? Because if I fail at something and I try something else, I can take all the learnings from that failure and I can try something else. Or maybe it's leading me to something else or somewhere else that I need to be and be thinking about. So that's been the challenge I've been going through of late, and thinking about, what do I do? I still get, plenty of pitches every day for amazing guests. And I'm like, oh, I'd like to talk to that person. Yeah, that'd be really interesting for this show. But I think that telling the story of personal growth through entrepreneurship, which is actually what this show is all about. It's told through the lens of the experience of an individual building a business and what they learned and the things that worked for them, the things that didn't work for them. That's been the tool in which I've told this story. But as you would know, if you've listened to even more than one episode, it's about that personal growth aspect, and it's about using the vehicle of professional pursuits to grow personally and to meet the parts of yourself you need to meet and grow the parts of yourself you need to grow and push yourself to be, better, stronger, more resilient, more powerful, to be like a proper tall poppy. I talk about tall poppy syndrome a lot on this show, and I have been thinking about it a lot lately. a lot lately. I have had my own experiences with tall poppy syndrome where although I feel like the shortest and floppiest poppy, I'm trying to project confidence and to be proud of my voice, and yet people still love to go to sister down. They just love to in the sneakiest of ways. And so that has been, that and continues to be an ongoing frustration of mine, that like how do you continue building and showing up, honestly and openly, and be willing to be hurt and feel frustration, and then just continue to keep building and building for a bigger purpose, no matter what that purpose is, whatever the purpose is that's right in front of you. And, that's what this show has been about, but it's been done through the lens of the business story. And it's the lens of the business story that I'm taking less and less creative enjoyment from. And, when we face that sort of creative crisis of like, okay, so then how do I take this thing that I've built and give it a little bit of a twinge so that I can a little bit of a tweak here or there so that I can be more focused on that part of the story? It made me realize, no, actually, maybe it's time to start anew. And maybe it's time to take all of that energy into a new show and tell the same stories that I want to do around growth, around performance, around self belief, and around all of the things it takes to be proud of the work that you do and to grow legacy and to grow creative output and to positively impact and do all of those things, no matter what that looks like for you. That takes a lot of constant self work and growth and that self belief to push into that space. And it made me realize that it is most definitely time to stop doing this show, and stop doing it for maybe I will say for now, because I never close the door. Lord knows I could become a yoga teacher again next week. Like, you never close that door. I still got my license just in case. You just never know. So I have decided to stop publishing episodes onto the Unemployed and Afraid feed in a little while, not right now, because I still have some incredible stories that need to be shared, and that I have pre-recorded with amazing humans who deserve to have their story shared as well, because they did spend some time with me to do so. And so I am still going to be publishing a few episodes onto this feed for you over the coming months at a pace in which I can manage in and around thinking all of the other things that I'm doing at the moment. So there's a few headlines in there. I guess that's probably why it's taken me so long to tell you, because there's been a lot going on. New role, new creative crisis, new experience of being a side hustler, sustained passion in an industry that I cannot see myself tiring of anytime soon. It is Podcasting has got me by the absolute guts. It is fascinating. I do not know anywhere near as much about it as I want to know, despite the fact that I obsess over it. I just want to learn more and more. And I want to do great work in the space because I believe in its ability to bring together a community, to positively impact, to bring ideas and to democratize voice, and to allow people to be who they want to be. There's just so much good here that that is a space that I want to lean into again and again. So I will be making a new show. I am working on a new show. It is going to have all of the things that you know and love about the content that I try to put together, which is all about that self belief and the belief to try again and to build and build things that you're proud of. And it will come, but it will come at the right time, because there's a bit going on, and I'm managing a full time role, and in an ambitious group, and with an ambitious outcome of the role, and challenging, like super challenging at times, for a multitude of reasons, is takes up a fair bit of headspace. But when the cracks of the day, I am just as passionate as I ever have been about platforming and having an opportunity to build my own business and be a creator, as much as being a professional, and do continue to consult on the side as well. There's an article that I shared with my partner who is a psychologist, and it was on psychology, and it's this third path to a good life that psychologists are talking about. This third path to this good life, it's one that's full of curiosity and challenge. It's one that creates a life of perspective changing experiences. And those perspective changing experiences are rarely comfortable. They are rarely easy. They are rarely fun. And they are rarely not scary. So this accidental rhyme, perhaps I could call my new show "Rarely Not Scary." But Unemployed and Afraid has existed to kind of like lean into a little bit of that feeling that when you're doing something by yourself, it's fucking scary. And it never really, even when it's exciting, it never really stops being like scary because it's challenging. And because you're leaning into your curiosity and because you're challenging yourself endlessly and having life changing experiences, like perspective changing experiences. And that's where I want to continue my professional career going. And what it looks like, I don't think really matters anymore, whether it's a full time business, a full time employee proposition, a little bit of both, or a little bit of whatever. I don't really care how it looks and how to explain it to other people in a short elevator ride. I just want to have those life and perspective changing experiences, rich experiences that are not always pleasant or even purposeful, because those are the things. Those things are what builds a good life, which is what I'm fundamentally committed to. And I'm sure if you've shown up here to listen to this episode, and if you're still with me listening to this rant, that for the first time I really haven't prepared properly for. So I really hope maybe I'll just not edit it, and I'll just publish it and hope for the best, which I don't recommend if anybody's making a podcast, but let's see. Hey, but I hope that you found it really valuable. In terms of what's happening right now for this feed, if you're listening in succession, which I know is not always a normal listening behavior, but if you are listening, to this show and then you're going to listen to others what's coming up is more episodes from amazing people who have shared their business building experiences. I have about 4 of those that I'm looking to release over the coming weeks. And I'm also going to be dropping an episode that I did with another great podcast called This is Small Business, and share just a little bit about my story and more of my thinking in this space that will be popping onto this feed as well very soon. So if you have, no matter how long you've been listening to these episodes rather, hopefully you're still listening to this episode. But if you've been with this feed for a while, thank you. Thank you for your commitment. If you have shared it in your feed, which is fundamentally the way that podcasts grow, word of mouth, good old fashioned word of mouth. Thank you. Thank you for helping me try to build it. It has not been a disappointment. I am not disappointed in anywhere that I'm at, whether it's this show or whatever else. I am not disappointed in anything that I have done because I have learnt from this. And hopefully I have supported and improved the lives of the people who have listened. And, there are a lot. There have been a lot of listeners, not as many as I would like, but there have been hundreds of thousands of listens to this show, and that is impactful. And I was hoping to do even more than that with this, and you have contributed to it by being part of it. So thank you so much for sticking with me and supporting it. And I hope it's been really supportive for you. I believe fundamentally in our ability to grow whatever it is we feel passionate about. And I hope that whatever you're growing, in whatever format you're growing it, you feel fundamentally passionate about what you're doing, and you believe in yourself, and you believe in the challenge and the curiosity of the thing, and you keep going and you keep doing whatever feels right for you, and you give yourself that grace to look, try, maybe put down, maybe try harder, maybe try something different as many times as you like. So as always, thank you for being here with me, and stay tuned. Best believe I will be telling you about the new show first. Thank you for listening to Unemployed and Afraid, the podcast for small business builders with your host, me, Kim Curtin. If you love it, you can say thanks with a star rating and a review. And of course, join the community on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Find us at Unemployed and Afraid wherever you're hanging out, and I'll see you there.